Hello and welcome back to the channel and welcome back for another Star Trek review where today I am finishing up with Star Trek the animated series. Yes, last month I did season 1 which was about 17 episodes, and this time with season 2 it's only 6. So again, why didn't I just lump the whole 22 episodes into one video? Content. That's literally why. If it was one whole season, then yeah, I would watch it. I mean, it kind of is that in a sense that way with the Blu-ray because the last episode of season 1 is on the last disc. Um, so yeah. Anyway, what did I think of Star Trek: The Animated Series season 2 before I get into the entire thing? It was, I mean, for just the 6 episodes that it was, some were good. Some I would have loved to seen how it would have been handled in live action. If the original series had gotten its fourth season. Technically, this is its fourth season if you want to get too technical there. But as well, some of the episodes I'm watching, I'm like, because they're, a half hour in length, um, roughly about 25 minutes, there, it felt like the endings to a lot of these episodes were rushed. And so I think some of these episodes could have done with the full 45-minute treatment, but then again, that would have cost way too much for animation, because animation cost is like huge money, especially back in the 70s when they were just doing the bare bones animation, or as I like to refer to it as the Hanna-Barbera style of animation, Scooby-Doo, Flintstones, Jetsons, all of those are would be I would say would be in the Hanna-Barbera style of animation. So with that being said, let's get started with episode 1, The Pirates of Orion. So this episode is, the first, if memory serves correct, the first proper time we've seen Orion's outside of Orion slave girls in the original series style. They look completely different to what we know Orion's to look. And throughout the entire episode, they were pronouncing Orion as Orion. So that confused me, that tripped me up because I like watching things with subtitles. And so every time I see Orion, I know that it's pronounced Orion, but of course they were pronouncing it Orion. And that's not the first time something like this has happened in classic Star Trek. There's a few times where Klingons were called Klingons or something similar to that. So it's not the first time something like this has occurred. But overall, the episode is it's basically Spock gets this incurable disease. They find the one place that has it, but by the time they get there, Spock's going to be dead, and so they contact another ship that mainly deals in transporting dilithium and all that stuff to meet them halfway. They get attacked by the Orions, and the Enterprise speeds up and gets there. Turns out that they did steal it. They're trying to deny it. They have this peace thing. Eventually, they get it and trick the Orions. Or the Orion, they kidnap the Orion captain and forces him to stand down. And then Spock gets his cure. And that's it. Like I said, it's a bare bones episode. It's an alright episode. So the next episode, Bem. Episode 2, Bem. Um, I don't like this episode. I really don't. I don't like the like I know Bem's species has been seen before. Has only been seen this episode and one episode in Lower Decks. And I don't know, it's just the fact that they can take a kinetically take apart each part of their body and move it freely. Kind of I don't like it. Um Not that it's bad or anything. That's just me. It's just not something that I like seeing. But in the episode, basically, this observer, whilst Kirk and an away team beam down to the planet, runs off and gets captured and is constantly saying, "Oh, I thought, I could report positively back to my planet, but obviously I can't." And it was annoying. It's the one James Doohan voice that I don't like because the vast majority of the voices in the animated series was done by James Doohan. So, episode three, the Practical Joker. This is one of those episodes where I would have liked to seen it stretched out to the 45-minute mark, as well as seen it in live action. The Enterprise passes through this unusual cloud whilst dealing with Romulans, um, and then the computer becomes sentient, and starts pulling practical jokes on every member of the crew. And when McCoy, Uhura, and I think Sulu goes to the rec room, which is the precursor to the holodeck, get trapped there, and eventually they Kirk tricks the computer to go through the exact same cloud again, and it gets rid of it stops the computer being sentient. And I like this episode. But like I said, it would have done better as a full length episode, because I would have liked to see more of the tricks that would have been done and how the crew would have reacted. Like we see bits of it, um, but it would have been an interesting way to see how they would have pulled it off uh, in the 60s in live action. Especially with the rec room. Like I know they could have done some like post special effects trickery, um, to obviously change locations and all that. But again, it would have been interesting to have seen it done in live action. But yeah, it's an alright episode. Next we have episode four, Albatros. I probably haven't said that correct, but basically, Dr. McCoy is charged with causing a plague on Darmania, or what have you, too. And so it's a classic episode that's been done before in the original series, and the episode is all right. Again, it's another one of those episodes that would have felt better if it had been stretched out. I definitely would have enjoyed it far more had it been stretched out. Obviously it turns out that McCoy wasn't the one that done it. It's this Aurora thing that was causing the skin pigmentation to change from blue to green to red and then dead. Um, and yeah, I definitely think it would have been nice. Would have been, like I said, it's an episode concept that has been done before and done after, but I would have liked to seen it in uh, a longer than the 25 minutes. Um, so yeah, that's basically all I have to really say. The next episode, how sharper than a serpent's tooth. Basically, this episode is what a lot of conspiracy nuts believe. That the ancient gods of the past, Osiris, Ra, all of them was basically aliens from another planet. And this isn't the first time Star Trek has done this. Again, in the original series, they did it with the Greek gods. Here, they do it with the Mayan gods. And I think Voyager did one similar in regards to Chakotay. So yeah, basically, uh, Kukakin. I've said it wrong. Basically comes back. Tries to figure out why the Mayan people never tried to contact him. After showing him what ways things are supposed to be built, the way he's liked it, and so on and so forth. Because it turns out he's just the last of his species that is trying to gather some species so that way they can live a proper simulated life where they don't know that they're in captivity. And then of course Kirk shows um the Mayan god that humans aren't warriors, that they have obviously evolved. Yes, they have forgotten about him, but yeah, then the episode ends. It was an alright episode, but the next episode is an episode that I know technically cannot be canon in a sense, and that is the counter clock incident. Another great episode that I would have loved to seen done in TOS rather than TAS, because it would have done so much better, stretched out to the 45-minute mark. That's the one common thing that I noticed with these last three episodes. They would have done so much better if they were stretched out to the 45-minute mark, because more could have been done to flesh out the story. More times to spend with the characters, especially in this episode, since they enter into a different universe that reverses time for them, so they de-age. But it's also the episode to introduce us to Commodore Robert April, the first captain of the Enterprise, as well as his wife. Why do I say this technically cannot be canon? Well, is it because we have our proper canon interpretation of Robert April thanks to Strange New Worlds. And in Strange New Worlds, Robert April is not a white man. Uh, they recasted Robert April to be a person of color. I'm not against that. I love Robert April in Strange New Worlds. Every time he appears, it's always good. The actor who I'm blanking on, I can't remember his name, but has done fantastic, and I do enjoy him. And I hope that we see more of Robert April in season 3 of Strange New Worlds, which they are filming for at the moment. And so eventually, Robert April takes back control of the Enterprise as they're moving out of this universe because, when a star goes nova in our universe, it dies, but in this other universe, when a star goes nova, it's being birthed. It's being born again, and you're born old in this other universe, and then you die as a toddler. So again, would have been very interesting to see how things would have been played out if it had been given the full 45-minute treatment. But again, like I said, it's animation. Animation costs money, hence why they went with the Hanna-Barbera style of animation. So that wraps up the animated series. So, what are my overall thoughts on now that I have, watched every episode of the animated series? I don't think I'm going to return to this as much as maybe I would return to the original series or Next Gen, DS9 Voyager, all the other Star Treks. Just because there are a lot of duds in this. The only episode that I truly properly enjoyed, and I would say would be the best episode, is the season 1 episode, Yesteryear. Season 1, episode 2, Yesteryear. That is the only episode that I fully enjoyed. All the other episodes were either okay to would have been better if it was stretched out to the 45-minute mark. That's just my opinion. But I'm happy that I got around to watching again this era of Star Trek, because I did watch prior to this season 1 and season 2 review, like maybe the first 2 or 3 episodes, and I just never went back to it. Kind of similar to when before I did my review of the original series last year, where I'd only seen a handful of episodes, but I hadn't seen every episode. And like when I watched every episode of the original series, bar the original broadcast version of The Cage, I have enjoyed both the original series and the animated series, but obviously the original series is better. But it was something that was done to kind of, whilst Star Trek was back in popularity because of syndication during the 70s. Sure, that's when my mother got into Star Trek, was late 70s, through syndication. Um, and that's what made her a Star Trek fan, and eventually me a Star Trek fan. So yeah, that has been my review of Star Trek the Animated Series. Let me know what you thought of the 22 episodes in the comments down below. Let me know as well what your favorite of those 22 episodes are. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I shall see you all on Monday for my Dragon Ball Super Broly review. I shall see you all next time.